Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are going to take a look at the story of Jesus Christ. The story as is described in the Bible and not as we know it. And in today's video I will start first by talking about the story that we know, about what the Bible says, and then I will tell the story that the Bible tells. And I will finish by saying why it's important to know the real story, because the story that we see depicted here and that we are so used to, with this image, with the shepherds, with the wise men, with the angels, with Joseph and Maria and baby Jesus, it's not entirely true. I could say it's wrong because it's not entirely true. And the story that it's we are so used to, and if we go to church we learn it, and sometimes even perhaps have some plays, some Christmas plays in which we enact the birth of Jesus, and the story of the Christmas of the birth of Jesus is like that. We know that Joseph and Mary are two young people who want to get married, who are expecting to get married. Everything is planned. The date of the wedding is set. But then Mary receives a visit from an angel who tells her that she was selected by God to bring forth his son into this world. And she has this honor. And Mary is a bit surprised because she didn't have sex with Joseph or with anyone else, and is a virgin and doesn't know how that can happen. But Jesus said that, but the angel said that she doesn't have to worry about that because she will be pregnant with Jesus. So um, of course, things doesn't go very easily. Joseph wants to leave her because he thinks that she had slept with someone else while they were waiting to get married. But God intervenes and in a dream tells Joseph what happened. So Joseph takes Mary as his wife. And while they are waiting for Mary to give birth, there comes a census that they must do, and it was a special census in the sense that they need to go to another city, to the city from which Joseph was, in order to register. So they arrive there in the late of the night. They cannot find a place to sleep in the inn, and Mary it's very close to giving birth, and in that night she has to give birth. So she gives birth and puts baby Jesus in a meager, and she gives birth in a stable. And while she's giving birth, some angels are showing themselves to some shepherds that are close to Bethlehem and that are keeping watch over the herds of sheep that are there. And the angels tell the shepherds the good news that Jesus Christ, the Savior of mankind, has been born. And they tell them how they can recognize him. They will see a child in a meager that is clothed in clothes. So the shepherds go and see that what the angels said is true. So they are very, very happy and tell everyone about that. And just after the shepherds have left, or while the shepherds are going there to tell them, there are some wise men from the east that come and look for also for baby Jesus, and they come first to Jerusalem, which is very close to Bethlehem, kind of 10 kilometers or so. And they ask Herod the king, where is baby Jesus? Where is the newborn king of the world, of the Jews? And Herod, when he hears that, he's starting to be very suspicious because he sees that as a threat to his reign. So he calls the um, people that know the Old Testament and ask them, where is the king born? Where is Jesus going to be born? And they say, oh, in Bethlehem, just close by, the next village down the road. So he tells the mages, the wise men, and asks them to come back after they found Jesus and tell him, because he also wants to give his regards to Jesus and pay tribute to Jesus. Uh, the wise men get out of the palace and they see again the star that they saw when Jesus was born, and they get to Mary and Joseph and they see the um, baby Jesus. They see baby Jesus and bring him gifts. Um, and after that, God tells them that yeah, they need to go back to their country without going to King Herod, because King Herod has dirty plans for the kid. He wants to kill the kid. And he tells that also to Joseph, that he must run to Egypt in order to save the kid's life, the child's life, the baby Jesus' life. Um, and Joseph does so, and yeah, during the night he goes with Maria and with Mary. Maria is Italians, but yeah, with Mary and baby Jesus, and they go to Egypt. And when Herod sees that the wise men don't come back to him to tell him what he asked, he orders the killing of the uh, babies around uh, Bethlehem and in Bethlehem and around Bethlehem. And this is the story that we know. And if we look in the Bible, the story is told by two different persons. First is Luke, who tells the story of one of the person, not the first one. The Luke is the third gospel, but Luke is one of the person who tells the story, and you can find it in Luke chapter 2, verse 1 till chapter 2, verse 20. And then there is Matthew on the right. He also tells the story. And you can find the story in Matthew chapter 1, verse 18, till Matthew chapter 2, verse 23. And if you look it, you see different accounts. Like Luke talks only about the shepherds and the angels and the census and Mary and Joseph, and that has to go because of that census and this part. And Matthew talks about the wise men that came. And basically, when we make this story of the Christmas, the story that we are used to, what happens is we put these two texts together and we make the story. And we make the story seem like everything happened right after another in the same night. In the same night that they arrive in Bethlehem, Mary had to give birth to Jesus. Then the shepherd came. After shepherds left, then the mages, the wise men came. Then after the wise men left, Joseph and Maria took Mary. Joseph and Mary took the baby Jesus and ran to Egypt. And then in the morning, King Herod ordered the killings of the baby. And this is the story that we make. But if we look more closely and by reading with more attention these passages that talk about the story, we see that the story is not like that. It's not just right one after another, because there are breaks in the story. There are periods of times in the story that breaks the story and change the story in a way. and changed the piece of the story, how fast the events are happening. And yeah, this is important to know. And in Luke, we find the first break of the story. And in Luke chapter 2, verse 6 and 7, you can read it. I will just summarize it. Basically says that Joseph and Mary get to Bethlehem, and while they were there to do the registration, Mary had to give birth. It didn't happen just as they arrived. They barely arrived and she needed to give birth. No, they were there for a while. We don't know how long. It could be days, it could be weeks, it could be a month or two. We don't know how long they were there. But they arrived in Bethlehem, and while they were there, it was not just as they arrived. They were there already, and they were doing stuff, and while they were there, Mary had to give birth to Jesus. So this puts a bit of a break in the order of events that we know. And then in Matthew, we find the second break. And that happens, and that break is between the shepherds and the wise men. Because after the shepherds' visit, there was about 2 years gap till the wise men arrived and paid Jesus a visit and give him their worship and the gifts that they have brought with it. And a bonus fact, we don't know how many mages they were. We say 3 because it's 3 gifts, or traditionally we say 3 because there are 3 gifts, but we don't know. It could have been 100, it could have been 3, it could have been 10. We don't know exactly how many were. We know that there were more than one. That's what we know, but we don't know how many were there. Just a bonus fact. And the fact that we can see this gap is because Herod orders the killing of children that are under 2 years, that are 2 years and under 2 years, because that's the age interval that he found from the wise men, that Jesus should be around 2 years. So in order to make sure, he ordered that all children that are under 2 years or 2 years or under, they have to be killed, just to make sure, to eliminate every possibility. So basically this puts quite a long break actually in the story between the shepherds and the arrival of the wise men. And then subsequently the trip of Joseph, Maria, and Jesus to Egypt. The trip happened right after the Magi, but not in the same night as the shepherds as when Jesus was born. And basically with these informations, we can finally tell the correct story of the birth of Jesus Christ. And the correct story starts the same. The order of events is kind of the same, but there are some breaks in it. So we have Joseph and Mary that are looking forward to their marriage. We have the message that the angel is bringing to Mary, that Jesus Christ is going to be born by her, and that she was received this grace and this let's say this wonderful opportunity to be the mother of Jesus Christ, and responsibility also. Then there is Joseph finding this out and finding that hard to believe. He thought that Mary just went and slept with another man while they were waiting for their marriage, so he wants to leave her and run away. and God intervenes. So Joseph takes Mary as his wife, and they are waiting for their kid to be born, for Jesus Christ to be born. And while they are waiting, the Roman emperor, orders the census, so they must go to Bethlehem. And they go to Bethlehem, which was a small village, approximately 100 and something kilometers away from where they were in Nazareth. Um, and then there they could not find a place to stay. I think probably they camp in open air, or perhaps in a stable or something. Um, we don't know for sure. We just know that there was no place in a guest house for them. So yeah, they were there waiting for their registration, doing their registrations, probably being with family together. And while they were there, a few days or week later, we don't know, uh, Mary had to give birth, and she gave birth to Jesus, and he put him in a meager. We don't know if the meager was in a stable or not. Intuitively, we think of a stable when we say a meager. Um, so yeah, and while Jesus was being born, the angels came to the shepherds. They tell them the good news, and how they can recognize the baby. The shepherds go and see that what the angels told them is true. So they are happy. They tell everyone around them what was happening. And then we have a pause of almost 2 years. And after almost 2 years, some wise men came to Jerusalem, some wise men from the east, and they are looking for the baby. And where could they look for a baby other than in a palace, right? So they go to King Herod and they ask, where is the newborn, well, so to speak, the newborn king of the Jews? And yeah, just notice here, it's a small subtlety. Jesus was born a king, and nobody on this world is born a king. Even if you are from the royal family, you are born as a prince or as a princess, but not as a king. But Jesus is born as a king because he was a king before he was born. He was a king in heaven, and when he was born as a king. So Herod, when he heard that a new king was born some time ago, he says, "Well, this is a threat to me." He, of course, doesn't tell that to the mages, to the wise men, but he asks the wise men to go and find this king that should be in Bethlehem, um, that was close to Jerusalem, about 10 kilometers. And after they found this king, come back. They must come back and tell him where he is, because he wants to go and worship this new king. Of course, he wanted to kill him. So the wise men leave the palace. They see again the star that they saw when Jesus was born, and that they followed to Jerusalem. And then they give gifts to their parents. And during the night, God tells them that they should not go back to King Herod, and they should go to another way to their home. They should go home, but not go back to Herod. So they take another road to their home. And in the same night, God tells Joseph that he must take Mary and toddler Jesus and run to Egypt. And here it's a nice little thing that shows how God is providing for everything needed, because just then the wise men came and brought gifts. One of the gifts was gold. And what they needed to make the trip to Egypt, they needed gold. So just God provided everything that they need to be able to make the trip to Egypt. So Joseph takes Maria and toddler Jesus, and they go to Egypt. And then Herod, about perhaps the next day, or perhaps the following day, seeing that the wise men haven't returned to him to say where Jesus was, he orders that every toddler that was 2 year of under 2 year must be killed. That toddlers that were in Bethlehem or around Bethlehem. And basically, this is the correct story, not the story that we are used to. And now comes the question: why is important? I mean, if you looked at the two stories, you see that they are kind of the same. I mean, the order of events is the same, but you have these two breaks in the story. And it's important to know the story like it was, with these two breaks that take place in the story, because it's so easy for us to hear a story and to don't read about it. It's a story that is written in the Bible that everyone can read, but because we are so used to it, we don't read the fine details, or we don't think about the fine details of the story. So we take a story and we cram everything together and we make a new story which is wrong. We put things right one after another, happening everything in the same night, which is not correct. And it's important when you tell a story, especially when it's from the Bible, to tell it correctly. Because telling a story correctly clarifies a lot of things. And this is my second point. There are some people who say that, well, the Bible has a contradiction, because by taking at the story that we know and things that are happening one after the other, they put the wise men right after the shepherds, and they say, well, Luke says they were shepherds, Matthew says that they were wise men. There is a contradiction. They cannot be both. So yeah, there the Bible is wrong. It's either shepherds and Matthew is right, and Luke is right, or it's wise men and Matthew is right. They cannot be both. But if you have these two breaks, you can see that it is correct. You can have both, because it was not one after the other, right, one after the other in the same night. No. It was 2 years apart. And yeah, it completely changes the story. And also it's clarifying things, and clarifying a lot of confusions that some people might have, because if the these two texts, the two accounts of the story was in the same book, then it would have been way easier to notice these differences. But because they are in separate gospels, written by two different authors who write their gospels with different motives, the Matthew writes his gospel showing how Jesus fulfilled a lot of prophecies, and Luke talked about in his gospels about things that some guy now named Theophilus have heard, and Luke put the account right one after the other what it happened. Yeah, you see this too, and you have to put them together. But if you put them together, we tend to glue them right one after the other. The wise men right after the shepherds, but this is not true. And when you put them apart like they are, then the whole contradictions that people are talking about they disappear. Because you know that the shepherds were the night that Jesus was born. The wise men came a few years later. It wasn't in the same night. You cannot confuse them. It was two different events happening with a long distance between them. And this is why it's important. It's important to know Bible as it is, because it's important to read the Bible, to know things how it was and see how God provided things and how God works. And yeah, because if not, then things can go to a way higher degree of wrong. They can get so wrong and can lead so many people to heresy because people are not reading. They are taking the story as they are told. And because they have the story in their mind, they read with the story the Bible and they skip the details, and that can lead to other things, way worse things than this one, way worse things than small confusions about that some people have about the wise men and the shepherds. And I will talk about that in another episode. So yeah, this is why it's important to know the correct story. It's important because it clarifies. And this is why I always give this advice. Read the Bible. We have to read the Bible more in order to understand more, in order to know more, and in order to don't be influenced by what people are saying, and don't take what they are saying for granted, because yeah, by reading the Bible we can see things how they are. And the Bible, the Word of God, is a lamp for our feet and a light on our path, of faith. So if you enjoyed this episode and you want me to talk about other topics from the Bible, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I will tackle the topics when I can. Anyway, I thank you everyone for watching, and again I repeat, read the Bible, read the story, read the chapters that I put, even more chapters if you want. And yeah, see for yourself if what I told you is true or not. Anyway, take care and God bless you and be with you all.